NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck your attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go! Back in the can for another edition of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, and a familiar smiling face on the other side of the screen. Who the fuck are you, and what do you do?
Hi, I'm Zack. I'm from Australia, and I am now a full-time skydiver, which is pretty awesome compared to the last time when we were talking.
So full-time means a whole lot of changes have happened. By the way, didn't I see you got married or something?
Engaged, not married.
So yeah, there's all kinds of shit going on for you.
Yeah, since we last talked, lots has happened, lots of life-changing events, and yeah, it's been pretty full on, but it's all starting to take shape, which is cool.
That's a big kind of a scary transition, isn't it? To go from a part-time skydiver / coach to this is fucking what I do. That's scary, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was like pretty scary, like quitting like the hospitality like sort of industry and like, you know, the comfort of an usual income, and then just going all in and, you know, like doing tandems and then doing like the social media and marketing for the drop zone that I work at, and with the coaching stuff as well. But yeah, I was just lucky that my partner Emily just gave me all the support that I needed to make that jump, because, you know, most partners probably wouldn't let you quit a normal career to then just pursue skydiving as like a full-time gig.
Sure.
So yeah,
now,
it's been a bit of an adjustment, but it's been pretty cool.
Did you get engaged before or after you dropped that bomb on her?
Oh, no, it was we got engaged April last year, and I went full time January this year.
All right.
So we were in first. So I did it right. I was like, locked her in, got her locked in, and then dropped the bombshell.
I was gonna say that's a good way to do it. All right, fair enough, fair enough. So, for anybody that didn't have the opportunity to listen to our first talk, everybody that listens to the show knows I always jump my guests back to how they got started in the sport. So, give me a recap: how you got started in skydiving, what was the initial spark, how your training and initial beginnings went, and how you ended up working as a professional skydiver.
Yeah. So was kind of, I don't know, not in my blood, but kind of instilled into me as a child. Just watching dad paraglide. We used to go to Turkey and Alderney's and just like for a month or 6 weeks, and he'd paraglide like nearly every day. So I just watch him paraglide and pack his paraglider as well, and just like sort of learn that love for flight, and was just kind of always around it, and just you know. So I knew that when I was older, I would want to get into paragliding. But when I moved to Australia in SA in Adelaide, the paragliding scene is quite small. There's no schools or anything. So Dad, I said, well, let's just go do a tandem skydive instead. So I did that, loved it, booked in my AF course, did my AF like the following month. And then it just, well, like most people, it just absorbed my life, got addicted, and just absolutely ran with it. And now it's a passion. It's an addiction. It's and it's now a career.
Yeah, I mean it's strange in that I mean the jumping itself is addictive and the sport is so much fun and skydiving itself is so much fun. For me, the long-term hook, and I've said it a billion times on the podcast, is the community in skydiving. It really, it's where you go to get your ego checked. It's where you go to get reaffirmation that you're, on the right path. If you're doing stuff the wrong way, somebody's going to let you know. If you're being a prick, somebody's going to let you know. It's just kind of a distilled version of the real world that kind of puts it all in perspective, at least for me. And then, of course, it's just filled with ridiculously cool people.
100%. It's more or less like therapy or counseling to some people. It's just crazy as it sounds. You can go there and you're instantly calmed, or you can go there and people will help you through a scenario, or whatever life's happening at the moment. It will just going to the drop zone seems to fix it.
Yeah, it's like a big therapy group, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Just a big collective of all walks of life. Just helping each other.
I mean, not only do you always have somebody there that's probably got a good piece of advice or has been through what you're dealing with, but you're also never the most fucked up toy in the room.
100%. There'll always be someone. Yeah.
And it's honestly, I don't know if you find it this way, but I've always found that being the one giving advice when you actually know what you're doing is incredibly therapeutic for you. Like, it's really fucking cool to help somebody past a hurdle or something like that. And you end up walking away feeling a little bit better about yourself too.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely now that I've matured and like gotten to that point, I'm definitely enjoying that side of things. On the flip side, for the first like 4 years, I was definitely the person always getting the advice, or,
sure,
Zack, you should be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
I remember like a friend Jed telling me, is like, skydiving, it's like, it's only 10%, the jumping's actually only 10% of skydiving. And it took me a very long time to like work that out, but completely
yeah. Actually, there was a parallel in a recent chat that I had with Jeffro, saying that he believes that the majority of the learning in regard to skydiving takes place off the drop zone. It's with those mentors, with those the groups of people that you're coming up with in the sport, when you're cracking a beer or you're out on the town or doing whatever, and getting those little nuggets of advice and those little tidbits in the sport that just are an incredible environment to learn.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, some of like the most helpful things I've ever learned is being at the bar, or like some of like the best friends I've made around the campfire at like 6 o'clock in the morning.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now, does the fiance jump?
No, she doesn't, and she hasn't done a skydive yet. It was like the classic. She was like, "Oh, when you do your 700th, got to that," and she was like, "Oh, maybe when you get your tandem rating, then got that." And she's like, "Well, when you get your hand cam, because someone's got to film it." And then I think that she's kind of just like she's not too keen on like planes. So throwing her into a small 206 is probably not going to assist with it either. But
Yeah,
it's
fair
something
enough.
that's like, yeah, I'm not going to push for it. It will happen when it happens. If it does, that's kind of
Sure.
cool.
Now, does she, I would assume because of the amount of time that you put into it, does she partake in the social aspect of skydiving?
Yeah. When she's able to, she definitely likes to come out to the drop zone and hang out if she gets an opportunity. We definitely have two puppies at the moment where they're kind of like almost like having kids. So it's
Sure.
definitely a bit hard taking the dogs and to the
Sure.
drop zone, and then and then if everyone else brings their dogs, it becomes a bit of a dilemma.
Oh,
So
yeah.
when there's an opportunity, she loves to come and hang out for sure. But yeah, when the opportunity presents itself.
Well, I've also found, I personally have always found it easier dealing with a significant other that's not involved in the sport, but that understands how important it is to me. If it's two people, not that it can't work, but if it's two people that are very invested in the sport, either they're always doing everything together or they've got such drastic, differences in the way that they do things that they still don't spend any time together when they're at the drop zone. But for me
Yeah, 100%.
personally, it always worked better having like my wife does not skydive. So
Yeah, 100%. My like before I met Emily, when I was single, my friend Bryce said, Zach, the one bit of advice I'll give you is don't date anyone in skydiving. Whatever you do, don't get involved with someone around the drop zone. Don't date anyone skydiving. Just keep your world separate. Everyone's happy.
right. I wouldn't say don't
But
date
the
any.
most ironic thing is he's now dating who was his student at the time. So
Of course, of course. I don't say don't date a fellow skydiver, but maybe date somebody that's at a different drop zone.
yeah, for sure.
But then again, I've seen couples that make it work, that do an incredible job of being able to show up to work together, jump together all day long, go fun jump together, and then go home. Personally, I'm just too much of a prick for somebody to be around me that long, and I'd drive anybody crazy. So
Oh, for sure. Like there's some of like the most top athletes where both partners are top of their game athletes and it works for them. And some people it definitely works. Like there's definitely some days where like it would be awesome if M skydived so we could skydive together. Like that would be like an unreal experience. But
sure.
having the two worlds separate, I think when you get home, like it's just almost refreshing to hear something that's different other than
Well, you got
skydiving
stories to
sometimes.
tell, right? I mean, because that's the thing is if you spend all your time together and you are on all the same jumps, hey, you remember? Oh yeah, you were there. Yeah, the stories don't hold as much weight if they were on the other end of the same skydive. So
For sure.
so did you have your tandem rating when we talked last?
I reckon I was like starting to get into it, like I think I more or less just got it, or yeah, very early stages.
So now how's the progression of that been? Because it's been a while now. And I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's an aspect of skydiving that has a real big learning curve.
100%. I've definitely learned a lot. Um, just seeing different characters all the time, like you get so one. Don't say I'm good, but you get better at like reading people before without even knowing them, and like
Yep.
who's going to be that one person that throws you on your side, or who's going to be that one person that needs that bit more encouragement, or who might be the one that freaks out in the plane, or who's just going to be like too confident, just trying to pick the characters and
Yep.
and then run with the characters, and then how to deal with those characters too.
You
So
know,
it's definitely fun, and I'm still in that stage where I'm not burnt out from it. Like I'm still enjoying Hammond, and giving people that experience. I really froth on that. Like when people are like, "Oh, that was an amazing experience. Like I loved it," and I'm like, "Yeah, cool. That was sick."
yeah, absolutely.
I'm still definitely in that kind of area.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel better, I was in that the entire time I was a tandem instructor. I never got burned out on it because it's so interesting to try and figure somebody out. And you end up you have to become what I like to call a 20-minute psychologist, because you have roughly 20 minutes from the time that you shake their hand in introduction to the time that you've got them at the edge of a door 4,000 meters above the ground. And you had to have instilled in them enough trust in you and the gear and the process to huck themselves out of the fucking plane. So it's really cool what you have to do to get there, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think it definitely helps you with just everyday just socialization and just everyday just skills. Like you're able just to I don't know, I feel like it just gives you more confidence to be able to just talk to random people, or just, just to deal with different scenarios as well.
Sure. I learned outside of skydiving that when I would see somebody, I could tell when they were stressed out and ready to flip out and start screaming and yelling, or when they were shutting down, because I'd seen it so many times. You watch that guy that's being the over the top, tough guy. He's the one that's going to lose his shit almost every time. And you're like, oh, fuck, here we go. And from the outside, you would never expect that tough guy is the one that you're going to have to just kind of baby into the plane. It's going to be okay. But those are the ones that it takes, right? And it's so fun to see that. Then you see it in the real world and you're like, oh, fuck, I know who you are. Okay. I get you. So you said you're also doing social media management for the drop zone. That's got to be pretty busy too, yeah?
Yeah, it was like it was definitely something that assisted with helping me go full time in skydiving. So it kind of just gave that like security of like some kind of wage. So yeah, now with SA Skydiving, I do like the social media and the marketing alongside Matt Teagues, who's also doing the marketing and operations manager. So we kind of semi-share the role. But yeah, it's been awesome, like really like learning more about that, and all the fun projects that we've got coming up, and where we really want to take the business and how we want it to grow and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really exciting. I'm actually really enjoying it. Like
social media it's crazy though, right? It's a minefield. There's so many different pitfalls and so much shit you have to learn.
Oh, like you got to post everything on then YouTube, then Facebook, and then Instagram, and then TikTok, and then like whatever fuck comes next.
Yeah. Well, and then it's
somehow going to be at the front of the game as well.
Yeah, then it's not just where you post, but it's what fucking time of day you post, and where in the world you're trying to aim your perspective for clients. And oh my God, man, it's fucking mind bending.
A different caption for TikTok versus Instagram, and different music and all the rest of it. And then it's stuff that's how I've got a job. It's a full-time gig.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing, especially with the podcast, has been a hell of a learning curve, just trying to know how to get things out there over the last few years. And the only one that I haven't done and I'm stubbornly staying away from is TikTok.
I wouldn't be on TikTok if I wasn't working for SA Skydiving, and it was a forced role. Sure.
Well, and I know it's supposed to be like the most popular platform to reach people, but it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm exactly the same. But it's one of those things. It's kind of like you either adapt or you get left behind.
Yeah, no doubt, and it has to be done. Now, speaking of moving forward, when we last talked, you were really starting to get into the flocking stuff and really putting together a lot of events. So tell me about that, because I know that's been quite a big progression too.
Yeah, for sure. Like when I first started, I think last time we talked, I already ran maybe 2, which were quite small events. They were like 6 waves or something like that at our drop zone. So it's 206. And looking to progress into like an interstate, I was like, if I want these events to grow, then I can't run them in my local drop zones. I need to go interstate. I need to go to the caravan run drop zones. And that's when I was heading up to Final Freefall in Cairns. And then I had another event up in Skydive Ramblers, which is in Brisbane. And I've literally got the wallpaper behind me on my other computer here, looking at it. And yeah, they ran really good. Like we got a lot of weather in Final Freefall, as you would expect. If you've jumped there before, you'd know you're always going to get weather there. But it's a beautiful drop zone when it's on. And then Ramblers was good. We got some really good content. Like Cam, you would have seen Cam's photos, like Cameron Putty. His photos are just phenomenal. Like, and it's why he does the camera for all of my events. And then from there, it kind of just not blew up, but it got more and more popular. It's still a very new discipline that is growing. And I've definitely noticed that it's now becoming into boogies as like an option for coaches to now jump and load organize at as well. But yeah, the events are slowly building, and it's starting to pick up like it's starting to get more reach, and it's starting to progress. And it gave me an opportunity to go to New Zealand this year, which was awesome too. So yeah, I'm loving it. And now that I'm starting to get onto like more high performance wings and more advanced wings, like the options are just endless. Just when you think you've gotten to the not to the end, but just when you started thinking about like, okay, this is flocking, like we can only do this, this, and this, then someone else invents something. You're like, whoa, I didn't know that was possible. Or you try something, like, wow, like that was awesome. That's a new like flocking jump idea.
Sure.
Just there. And but yeah, loving it, loving flocking.
So
Loving where
for
it's
the
going.
people that are coming up, especially the newer jumpers and people that are starting to learn to fly their wing for more than just a safe way to get to the ground, but are enjoying that aspect of the sport, talk us through what flocking is. Talk us through the different aspects of flocking, and what kind of things you guys have been doing from the beginnings of it until what you're able to do now.
For sure. So for the beginners, like flocking, or just for anyone really, like flocking is essentially like the canopy piling equivalent for the tunnel. Like we get on the bigger wings, like from about 15 minutes of airtime, on the smaller wings, like 8 or so minutes. So much more airtime than what we'd usually get after a free fall jump. So the learning curve is quite a lot more than your usual just one jump. Like you can make a lot more mistakes in one jump than what you would usually do. Free fall jump, and then learn from it as well. Like you can make a mistake, you can learn from it, readapt and like implement that into like figuring out what you can do better on the next one.
Sure.
So for like the beginners, like we're usually teaching them more about like safety aspects of like approaching, what your different like inputs do, like your body controls, and like how to stay relative to formation, which is a lot of people, especially in the beginner stage, are told to stay the fuck away from other parachutes and like get out of the way, don't fly near another parachute, like that's danger. And now we're trying to like retrain the brain and the mindset that, okay, now you can fly close to like another canopy and it is safe. So it is quite funny when you like waving someone in, like, okay, come closer, and they're like shaking their heads like, no. And you just constantly like this, all right, come on, come in. And then, yeah, they get down to the ground and it's frothing. Like, that was insane. Let's do that again.
Yeah. It's definitely super exciting. It's kind of funny because when I learned how to jump, I learned at Skydive Las Vegas and would jump by myself because it wasn't really a fun jump or drop zone. But I remember one particular skydive where one of the instructors was on the load with somebody else. And somehow we ended up in close proximity under canopy, and he flies kind of up and from behind me and yells, "Let go of your toggles." And I'm, relatively new. I'm just off student status, so I'm kind of shitting my pants that I can hear anybody anyway. So I let go of my toggles, and I'm looking up as I see these dents running up the front of my canopy, and then he disappears in front of me. And I fucking hated him. "You cocksucker. What the hell is that? Don't ever touch my parachute." And I was terrified of having somebody near me for the longest time. And then cut to a bunch of years later where it's me and another tandem that are barber poling around each other on the way down going, all right, fuck. So, and that was, the progression long before flocking. So the fact that it's moved on to quite large formations is super exciting. And visually, it's quite spectacular.
Yeah, 100%. Like even in the short time that I've been doing it, like it's progressed in my own like progression. It's progressed from getting out super far, like past the drop zone and turning around and then flying back downwind at the drop zone, trying to go for more distance. To me, that was what flocking was when, I was first getting into it. And now it's developed into, well, one, its own discipline, but into building formations, dynamical flows, and just so, like I said, the possibilities are now just endless. Like it's literally like creating art in the sky. Like it's awesome. And everyone that's on the ground that's watching is like, wow, that was awesome. Like, wow, can you see it? And it's like, yeah, you can literally see it, your jump the whole time.
Sure.
So it's not only pleasing for people in the jump, but people on the ground as well. It's super spectator friendly.
Well, now some of the stuff that I've seen done too, there's a lot of stuff coming out that's got quite a lot of aerobatics in it. With a number of different canopies, and it's obviously very well choreographed. One that I just saw had a bunch of canopies simultaneously barrel rolling out in opposite directions at the same time and stuff like that. Is it physical cues? Are you guys on headsets? Because that's very, very choreographed to be able to do that. Because if one guy's off on their turn, it's going to get messy.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we definitely have headsets. Like me and the other leader would usually have headsets. But if we're usually in like a bit of a trail before we do like a barrel roll, not many people usually have headsets, or more or less no one has a headset. It's usually like a lot of the briefing down the ground and a lot of the timing, like, a lot of like leg claps, like if you do like clap your legs like once and second, then we're going like on the third one. And like especially for the barrel rolls, like was usually brief. Like if you don't commit, like you're gonna be worse off if you don't commit. So it's like full commitment. And with the flocking, it's like the progression from the first jumps through. It's all about building trust and like the trust the people that you're flying with and that you're the team that you're kind of building. So once you get to those jumps or the barrel rolls, you've usually got quite a lot of trust in the people that you're jumping with, that everyone's going to stick to the plan and everyone's going to execute that plan as well.
Sure. Well, and I would imagine with a lot of the ones that are like the fly pass, where you've got one group formed up heading one direction and another one either flying in between, above or below that group, I would imagine that's kind of just a case of follow the leader, is it not?
Yeah, 100%. That's when you sometimes like have like a headset on the other leader to sort of communicate like when they're going to be turning in, and then all the other people generally just follow the leader, just like mimicking the person in front's like motions and what they're going to be doing next, almost trying to predict when they're going to turn in as well, and being able to read what's about to come next before it kind of happens as well.
Now, how much planning goes into matching canopy performance?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just usually day one of like our camps is all about like speed checks, like making sure that everyone's compatible. Like if people need to wear more drag or less drag or a little bit of weight, or what things do we need to adapt to our flying style or to our kit to be able to make the whole group more compatible. So usually when I've got the registration list, I can kind of see where people might need some adaptations. But usually the first few jumps is where we kind of just test all that out.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think you're right in that there are endless options for all the different kind of stuff that can be done with multiple canopy formations. The guys out in Bovec, my fun crew out there, Nitka and then Ernesto Gaines and the guys do follow the leader stuff down terrain, down these beautiful mountains that border Bovec and Italy, and they're carving down through these amazing canyons and incredible stuff like that. So that kind of stuff. And then you guys are kind of making your own terrain in the sky with different formations, which is super cool.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So now,
awesome. Yeah.
For that kind of stuff, is it always scheduled events, or do you guys have groups of people that are just doing this on a regular basis at your drop zone, or are you putting it out there, come learn how to do this?
Yeah, for sure. At the moment, like I'm creating camps and it's becoming more scheduled events. Like I said, the discipline's still quite new and still people quite learning on, not really sure what to expect when they get on camp. Or the flip side is people see the end video and just they kind of assume that it's quite advanced for them, but they don't see the progression that gets to that point. So it's there's a lot of people who are like, oh, it's too advanced for me, but it's actually open to all skill levels. We'll always adapt to the lower experience levels. But for me at the moment, like there's weekend jumping, a little bit of flocking here and there, but I'm mainly just do when I'm training. So like me and my friend Niall, the other leader and organizer, if we've gotten like an idea, we'll just kind of get a few people together and do a bit of training. But other than that, it's mainly like scheduled events.
Now, is it kind of like with the lower experienced people, is it the same as with other disciplines? Is that you put the lower experienced guys just kind of hanging on for dear life in the base, and the more experienced guys are responsible for doing the fancy shit around them?
No, not necessarily. Like we usually put I put the more experienced people like in the center, so you've got like a strong core like to the formation, and then that leaves the least experienced people like on the outside slots, so that if they need to float for whatever reason or go out and chill, they've got the options to breathe and they don't feel like they're restricted into some said formation.
I like that because like the idea for me of big ways, free fall big ways and stuff. The scary part was never flying near all those people. It's where the fuck do I go when I want it to end?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I don't like this anymore. I need to get the fuck out of here. I'm claustrophobic.
And plus the advanced, or no, not the advanced, sorry, I shouldn't use that word. The people who are understanding it a lot more will usually build the formation a lot quicker. So it makes more sense for them to be getting out and building that strong core and giving like the people who may be struggling a little bit a strong foundation for them to build onto.
Sure.
Essentially.
So now say one of the people listening today is from like the Facebook group that I quote all the time, the Beginner Skydiving Forum. This
Yes.
person's at 50 jumps and they're watching videos that you've put out and they've seen these flocking things and they think it's super cool, but they're still flying a 190. What progression do they need to be thinking about? Where does their mindset need to be? How do I get from where I am now to leading one of these flocks? What do they need to be thinking about?
Rapidly downsize. It's
Oh, fuck off, man. Kids, don't listen to that shit.
no, I take it back. That was a joke. No, just like with anything. It's like with anything, the people that try and again rapidly downsize and try and progress themselves too quickly are the ones that will end up paying for it in the long run. Those that take the time in working through their journey, getting coaching, getting the good feedback as well, will progress and will end up progressing quicker to some degree as well. So just find your local canopy coach, tell them the idea of what you want to and where you want to get to, and they'll usually help you with a small progression plan to get to that set point. It's usually kicking off little goals to then achieve the big goal.
So what are the benchmarks? Like what are the hurdles that they need to overcome? What do they need to learn specifically, or just generally as they move through that progression? If someone comes to you as a coach and says, this is what I want to do, what are you going to tell them that progression is?
I'd just start off with one-on-ones, like just one-on-ones, like with an instructor, just like some high pulls, just so you can get used to flying relative to another wing and seeing what your inputs do relative to that wing, like what your brakes, what your rears, like what your different body positions and everything do. And then it's just kind of just time in the sky. Like for our beginner camps, and for our advanced camps, we'll take people with no experience. And adapt, and that's what that whole first day is. Smaller formations, getting used to flying relative, and seeing where people need improvements. And then day 2 and day 3 is where we start taking the next steps up to the next jumps, etc., etc. So, if you're at 50 jumps, it's more of a time thing. Just understanding what your inputs do, getting the experience, just flying a parachute. If you can do a couple of one-on-ones, high pulls, even better. Gain some more experience, and then just get yourselves ready until you're on the right canopy type and size. And mainly wing loading to be able to get onto a camp. Like the minimum wing loading for our camp now is 1.4. So whatever you need to get yourself there. If it takes you 2 years because you need to progress to get to like the next wing down, then that's the journey you're going to have to take.
Cool. Now, have you ever had any students freak you out?
No, it's always the advanced camps.
Why does that not surprise me?
It's the beginner ones, like it's because the beginner ones, everyone's so conservative on day one because they've been told to stay away from parachutes. So you spend day one building people and showing them what the picture should be. Like from our last camp at Jurien Bay, like we had photos and did the whole introductory brief, but he was like, I didn't understand we were going to be this relative, flying our wings like 2 meters to 5 meters apart from each other. Like, yeah, man, like we're not going to be flying from like one side of the freaking drop zone to the other, and that's our formation. Like we're here to fly relative. Like he's like, oh, I didn't realize we were going to be like this relative, and I was like, well, this is what we're doing.
Sure.
This is flocking. So it's
now
yeah, like
are there canopies that are more suited? Obviously, there's some that are better suited for this, but you say as you get more advanced, that gives you different options, but is that preferable? I mean, I'm assuming you can pull off some pretty amazing stuff with a lower level canopy as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like the top end's higher experience wings, like your layers, your Valkyries, like your Petras, etc. Definitely give you more options in terms of like maneuverability and just the efficiency that they have to be able to do like your barrel rolls and just like your up and overs and all the rest of it. But you can still do some of that stuff on the beginner wings, not as necessarily like barrel rolls. Like you won't be getting a Sapphire 3 and trying to barrel roll over someone else. Like it's going to be super dangerous. But in terms of the flocking camps are usually catered for that wing loading, and when it was a lower wing loading, we had people in Sapphires and Sabres. So it doesn't necessarily matter what type of wing you're on, as long as you're on. If you're trying to flock with other people, it's just trying to match up a different, like the same type of wing.
Sure.
But you wouldn't try and flock like a Sapphire and a Petra together. Like, yeah, it would probably could work to some degree, but it's not going to be like efficient.
Sure. Now, speaking of wings,
Or
I see
practical.
you're sporting the new Gyro jersey, which, I mean, no offense, but fuck you, because I haven't seen one of those damn things.
Yeah.
Now I know
Pretty cool,
you were
eh?
actually at the rebrand boogie. So tell me about that, because I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody about it yet.
Yeah, it was awesome. We did like a little athlete flocking, pre-flocking before gyro. So we got like Lucy invited a couple of us to Byron Bay just to do some like a content creation, which was awesome. So I got to meet some of the other athletes like Cornelia, Max, and Robin for the first time, which was awesome. Finally putting like a face to a name. Obviously talking to everyone on social media,
Sure.
you feel like friends anyway. But when you finally get to meet people in person, it's always awesome sharing that beer. And so we did a lot of flocking in Byron just to get some new content for the website, which was pretty cool. And being able to like fly, like I don't think anyone was on a bigger canopy than a 79 square foot. I think the 79 square foot was one of the bigger wings.
Right.
So everyone was like sub 80 square foot, which was really cool to be a part of. And got everyone quite current for the gyro boogie as well, which was sick. Awesome. Like it was probably the biggest boogie I've ever attended personally, and ever load organized at as well. So I was load organizing the flocking, which was pretty awesome. I was pretty nervous with it being like, I can't remember how many participants, maybe like 150, or including staff and everyone else. I think it was a total of like 200.
Wow.
So we had 3 planes there, four planes if you count the 182, and it was busy.
That's
It was busy.
fantastic. Well, I know
Yeah.
it was a quite a big undertaking with now Gyro, then NZ Aerosports had been planning this rebrand for quite some time. And that was, of course, the culmination of it when it kicked everything off. And I wish I could have been able to go, because I've been told through the grapevine it was a hell of a party.
Yeah, man. Like even like just like the whole gyro secrecy thing. I suck at secrets, and when I got told about the rebrand, I was like, "Fuck! You shouldn't have told me this, because I suck at secrets, and now I've got to keep the secret all the way through until we get to the boogie."
Yeah.
And but yeah, the boogie was sick. Like they had the new jerseys, they had the new rebranding, like little subtle hints here and there throughout the boogie, because they released it and dropped the bombshell on party night, like the last night of the boogie.
Sure.
Which was awesome. So again, not many people knew, but a couple of people were kind of picking up on a few of the hints. So it was kind of cool just watching it all kind of like build up and build up and build up. And Lucy did a fantastic job at like doing the rebrand at the boogie, like the speech and everything was, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Cheering, fuck yeah, like it was sick.
it was a blast when they let me know that they were going to do it, and I got copies of the logo, and then I got the speech to use for the leader into the podcast, and I'm reading it, and of course the gyro business model and this podcast business model match quite well anyway. But
Yeah.
then I read it and say, so I sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. Oh my God. This is I'm working with the greatest company on earth. This is so fantastic. And so I read through, it took me like 3 or 4 times to read through that damn that voiceover, because I kept cracking up. I'm like, this is fucking great. It's gold.
Yeah, 100%. And like I've always known, like in aerosports, gyro was like a big company, and being like my first sponsor, like I knew it was cool. But doing the flocking at Byron, going to the gyro boogie, coaching at that, and seeing it all unfold, and seeing the rebrand, like man, like the sponsorship and the opportunity that I have with gyro, like it's absolutely amazing. Like I never knew it was going to be this big. It's such a fucking cool company to be a part of.
It is. It is. Well, I've honestly, I've never felt like I was working with a company. It's like it's a club. It's just a very family, family vibe where everybody's just kind of doing their thing collectively. And it's just, yeah, it's been a blast to work with them. And not to mention, they make a badass fucking wing.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
Yeah. It's I get asked all the time, because obviously I have people on the podcast that fly PD, they fly gyro, they fly fluid wings, and especially with PD and gyro, they're like, well, is it an issue having? And I'm like, no, it's fucking Nike or Adidas. They're both badass. It's just which one you prefer. Which is an amazing place to be, especially considering gyro's roots and how it kind of just got started, not by accident, but certainly not, the intention was never to become this, right? So it's just it's a great story as well, and that's another favorite part about the sport is, sure, PD and gyro are competitors, but very friendly competitors, because it's always
the banter that they have between each other. It's awesome.
That's fantastic, and it's a proper back and forth, but it's the way it should be, right? Because it doesn't alienate anybody. It's Coke versus Pepsi. It's Nike versus Adidas. It's good fun.
Yeah, for instance, like I at a boogie, not the gyro boogie, but one before that, someone put a "I love PD" sticker on the top of my helmet, and I didn't know. And I did this like swoop over the top of the building, and I was like editing the footage like on my phone, and I was like, why the fuck does it say "I love PD" on the top of my helmet? So it's just like, if you watch the video, like you can see me doing the swoop, and all it says on the top is "I love PD," and I was like, oh yeah, well played.
yeah, it's pretty funny, and why not? Fucking just have a good time with it. So as we get down towards the end, I want you to tell people how they track you on social media, how they track your drop zone on social media, so we can see all the shit you're doing for them, how they find out about flocking camps and coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram. It's probably like my best way to get in contact or follow what I'm doing, which is Zack Rosser, ZACKROSSER. Had to think about that one for a second. And then, I work for SA Skydiving, which is SA Skydiving, just all one word, just at SA Skydiving. And then all my events can be found on my Facebook page, which is Zack's Canopy Course. But yeah, we're actually thinking about like myself, my friend Niall, who helps me organize, and then my two camera flyers, Cam Putty and Maddie Walker. We're trying to think of a team name essentially at the moment to try and so it's more of a collective than Zack's Canopy Course, which is very individual. So we're trying to think of a name that's a bit more as a team, so that we can do all the flocking camps and post it more under that essentially. So it's more growth in the pipeline and what we're working towards at the moment.
Well, so for everybody listening, they need a team name, so it's time to
if you got an idea, fucking let me know, because it's hard work thinking of a name. That's for sure.
Bury Zack's Facebook page with team name ideas. I'm sure you're going to get a few interesting ones. So as we wrap up, any events that people should know about, anything coming up in the near future?
Yep. We've got our two camps that are going to be ran at Skydive Ramblers, so our introductory and then our advanced camp in late October. And then we're, fingers crossed, just got to touch base with the manager again, but we're going to be going back to New Zealand in February, start of March, to run some more camps in there, and another project camp that we're super excited about to be running in New Zealand as well. So still a bit of work to be done with that one, but I'm pretty excited for what's to come with that one.
Good to hear it, man. I can't wait to see. I know that I'm going to see a lot of really cool content coming out from you in the near future. I'm sure that the camps will go incredibly well as well. So, dude, as always, it's great talking to you.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the extreme sports collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Get on the